Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening, Ed, and everybody.
Ned, how you doing?
Hey, I'm well. How are y'all?
I'm good. My name's Mickey O'Brien with
Hey, Mickey.
AECOM. Yeah, Ned, nice to meet you. Hey,
Yeah,
Stanley.
likewise.
Hello.
I mentioned to Bernard my great grandfather's name was Mickey O'Brien.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of
Wow.
course. That's kind of like John Smith among the
Well,
Irish,
when I
but
was over in Ireland, I thought I was something special until I spoke to the cab driver and told him I was an O'Brien. He's like, "Oh, so is every Tom, Dick, and Harry here." You know. But nice people there, though.
oh, cool.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. My dad's Patrick O'Brien and my
Okay,
brother was Patrick O'Brien. So
that's another one
I
I got
was
about.
Michael, and then I guess I was born with big ears and they just called Mickey all my life. So go figure, you know.
Yeah, we made a joke. My mom's maiden name is Donahue, and we had a joke that at a wedding, if somebody called for Pat Donahue, about five people would stand up between the Patricks and
Pat
Patricians.
Donahue.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I hadn't heard that name in a while. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I attempted to maybe assign a co-host. Looks like the meeting can have one host. I'm happy to continue as that, but if anybody would prefer to be made the host, let me know.
Okay, yeah, you're more familiar with enter my video on here. You're more familiar with how things run there at the city. So if you don't mind, we'll focus on the project and ask you for assistance when we need it.
Okay. Is there a PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, yes, they should both. Well, I see Jamal's on. Yeah, I can share the PowerPoint. Yeah, let's see here.
Let's
All right.
test that. See if you can share your screen.
Okay, 1 second here. Share. The host isn't allowing to share
Oh,
currently.
let's see.
Setting you can change, Ned.
Zoom Master Councilmember Goldberg, if you could tell me how I can change that. I appreciate it. Do you know where I should go? And if not, I'll go ahead and just make Mickey the host.
Yeah.
That should be in your Zoom settings. I'm on a Mac, so it may look different from what you have, Ned.
Let me pull it up over here. So in the actual app, your settings.
So if you go to, like, on my screen, there's a toolbar across the very top, a banner. And then there should be a drop down that says settings. And then if you look in that settings, there should be something that says share screen.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Mr. Kendrick.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes.
I'm having problems with my video.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we can hear you coming in loud and clear.
I like your Mr. Hawthorne, I like your snowman back there.
I was hoping someone would notice. I repositioned it for this meeting.
Yeah, it looks like you did. I thought about something like that, but I'm glad you pulled it off. That's great.
All right. Here we go. Share screen. And then
So there should be a setting, can participants share screen?
let me try advanced settings here.
Yeah, we usually use Teams, so I wish I could help you there.
You know what? I think I'll go ahead and we're
Can
getting
you-
close
can
to
you-
it.
Transfer it over.
Can you, at that time, Ned, can you just make him host?
Yep, I'm gonna go ahead and do that now.
Yeah.
And so what that means is, Mickey, you'll have to make Ned host when you're done sharing your screen.
Okay.
Well, are we sharing the screen now? We're just testing,
No,
right?
sir. We're about to. We're about to right now. Okay, I'm able to share. Do you see my screen? Let's
Not
see.
yet.
All right, 1 second here.
Yep.
There we go.
It's coming.
There we go.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
There we
Yep.
go.
Okay.
Well,
Great.
good
But I-
evening, New Hall.
And Mickey, is there a way for you to put it into presentation mode
Yes,
so that
sir.
you don't see the individual slides?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
And then
Yeah.
one question I have, with Mickey as the host, will we still be able to monitor the chat and collect questions? Councilmember Goldberg, Ned?
It appears so. I have the chat
Okay.
pulled up now, and I'm watching people join. Hello, Alan and Cheryl, Rick and Wanda, Houston T.
Okay.
Hey, Daniel.
Hey there.
Oh, are you on?
Yeah, I just hopped on. I was
Oh, okay. I was
I was
like, all right.
taking a quick, not a
Okay.
siesta, but a
Taking a
little break.
break. Yeah.
Just needed to get some depth perception back. So I was looking
Oh.
out the window for 10 minutes.
Nice.
So can someone type in chat just to test that I can see it?
Yep, I will.
Yep. Okay.
You don't mean literally type in chat?
Yep.
Okay.
Be right back.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Hello.
evening.
Evening.
Three minutes away from countdown.
Been anticipating this all day.
I'm sure.
Mhm.
I think we all have.
That's great. It's good to know.
The hour is now here.
I haven't.
Hey,
You,
I think I
you
heard
hadn't even thought
Bernard's
about it,
voice.
Mr. Kendrick?
No.
We had a very good meeting with a representative from the Georgia Forestry Commission this afternoon.
Great. I look forward to hearing more about that.
I will send out a synopsis to everyone.
Great. Thank you. And then Ned, are we, do we need to record this?
We are recording as we speak.
Okay, and will we add it to the YouTube channel? Is that
Yep.
a thing?
I when the meeting ends, I'll be able to save it as a video file. I did a
Okay.
test on that earlier. I've never uploaded a video to YouTube before, so I assume it's as easy as just
Yeah, it's
uploading a
simple.
video file. So yeah, so I'll probably go ahead and knock that out tonight following the meeting.
Brandy,
Awesome. And then we can link and circulate when
Yep.
the next. Awesome.
Brandy, to get started, do you want to be on speaker mode so that so you're on the screen for everybody, not the
Sure.
presentation?
Yeah.
And then we'll have to make switch the hosting again.
Oh, in that case, since he's already set up, I can just speak. I think people can they pin me? I don't know. I'll just wave my hand so everybody knows who's talking.
Okay. Do some sign language.
Yeah, there we go.
So you could announce everyone to go up to the top of their screen and go to pin, and then you become full screen, Brandy.
Okay.
And then we'll have to unpin and it'll go back to
Oh, there we go.
Daniel's gonna share, my colleague is gonna share the PowerPoint.
Yeah,
So.
I'll send a request on over right now to share.
Okay, great. Well, with that, we're at 6 o'clock. So while that's happening, why don't I go ahead and
Mhm.
kick us off?
Okay.
Welcome, everyone. I hear a little bit of echo all of a sudden. I want to just quick housekeeping. Everyone should be muted. And so I think you can mute yourself and just remain muted for the duration. If you have questions or comments, you can drop those in the chat. We'll be collecting those, combining them if it's appropriate, if there are multiples of the same question. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll answer both the pre-submitted questions that came in and the ones that were in the chat. So as you're going, again, just drop them in the chat. So welcome this evening. It is Wednesday, December 17th. It's dark out. It feels really late, but it's only 6 o'clock. My name is Brandy Hall, and I'm the mayor of this fair city, Pine Lake. This evening, we are having a presentation of our Greenspace master plan. This is just a draft that is working currently. Many of you completed a survey that the city circulated on several occasions to gain input about what you would like to see reflected in a master plan. And this master plan incorporates that community feedback for the purposes of planning for our capital improvement projects. So that we can have a really strategic approach to the funding that we get, as well as the priorities of the community. We want to have everything reflected in a master plan that can, there were so many beautiful responses that came in, everything from dog parks to, priorities around maintenance. There's a lot of things in there. So we have with us this evening AECom, our engineering firm that completed the plan, and Mr. Kendrick. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kendrick first to kind of talk about the process and where we're at and where this will go. What I did want to make note of is that while this is the master plan that incorporates capital improvement projects specifically as they relate to our green spaces, what this plan, what you won't see reflected in this are two things that I think I want to just really call attention to. The first is that this doesn't include engineered solutions for larger engineering issues that we might see in the city. So that's not what this is. This is really about us planning for our green spaces, reflecting the needs and the desires of the community in our green spaces, so that we can prioritize projects. That, like I said, that can be anything from dog parks to the gazebo, to the beach access, to the renovation of the beach house, all the different kinds of things that have surfaced through this process. Also, I want to acknowledge that this plan doesn't include the wetlands and the lake functionality currently. Those are housed in a completely different scope of work that has been underway for 6 months or more with AECom. That's looking at all of the very specific engineered solutions and processes and permits and things that we need to do to get the wetlands and the lake back to full functioning, thriving, beauty, health, all of the things that we all value. So you're not going to see that reflected in this plan tonight either. But if you have questions about that, we're constantly discussing it at council meetings. You can definitely email us and we can give you more of an in-depth response to that. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kendrick to talk a little bit about this project specifically, and then we'll turn it over to AECom.
Thanks, Mayor Hall. I apologize. I can't get my video on, but can everybody hear me? Somebody say yes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I think the mayor put it very succinctly about what the scope of work and where we are with this, draft plan. And what I'm going to do is just introduce the team that put this together, and then followed by Mickey and Daniel tag team the presentation. We've got somewhat lengthy presentation to make, and as the mayor said, we've got, I think, 5 questions that were previously submitted when we opened the portal for additional questions. And then we'll move into, questions from the governing body and then questions from the public. So at this time, first on the screen should be Tina Houston. Tina's the Senior Vice President with AECOM. She's overall in charge of everything that this team is doing. There's Jamil I get his name, Shad. He's the project manager for all of the projects that AECOM are doing for the city of Pine Lake. And we have Mickey O'Brien. He's the specific project manager along with Daniel Rodriguez for the Greenspace Masterplan. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn everything over to Mickey and Daniel, and we'll have a presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard. And I'm going to turn my camera off and let the guys take it from here. Thank you.
That's an amazing. Thank you for the introduction, Randy and Bernard. Let me get a thumbs up if you can see the presentation. Thank you very much, Randy. Okay, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here virtually in front of everybody. I'm assuming there are tens of smiling faces looking back at me through Zoom, which is something I've been using for a very long time now. This is the community-driven vision for Pine Lake's Greenspace. Here we can see that it was presented or packaged together by AECOM. Our team has been diligently working on this over the last few months. Let me move forward here. Part one is our introduction. We did just get a brief introduction, but let me do so a little bit more formally. The team who developed this plan is comprised of Mickey O'Brien, who you have met previously, and Daniel Rodriguez, myself. Mickey is a senior landscape architect here at AECOM who specializes in parks and complete streets. I'm an urban designer. I support Mickey on his team, and I specialize more in civic and cultural landscapes. And together we have a multitude of projects under our resumes. Mickey having worked extensively at Piedmont Park, Marbury Park Master Plans, Town of Ave Maria Park Master Plan, that inform the following work that we will present to you tonight. I also have extensive work working on comprehensive infrastructure master plans in Puerto Rico, the New York Botanical Garden, Rutherford Bound Comprehensive Master Plan, and other park projects as well.
Daniel, I might interject real quick there. If you go back one slide, I think you'll also see that I've been worked on both sides of the table as a consultant, and then also with the city of Brookhaven, I was appointed by City Councilman Parks to serve on the Parks Bond Committee, which I did for 4 years. And I also served with the Chattahoochee Nature Center up in Roswell. I was on their Facility and Grounds Committee. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of those just because I've sat on both sides of the table. All right, back to you, Daniel.
Thank you, Mickey. And it's been a pleasure collaborating with you and learning from you along the way. Mickey is local, and I'm actually coming in from out of state, so it's been an honor to be able to learn from one of the best. So let's dive in a little bit into our process. And this is, again, a few months that we've been working diligently on site. We've conducted 2 site visits to get direct firsthand observations. But we've also met with Bernard and other staff to get secondhand accounts and anecdotes to support the proposals we will outline. The community survey was a very important part of this process. Over 130 participants provided qualitative and quantitative data to inform the parcel programming. We then developed a master plan and a report to go alongside that. We inventoried over 22 parcels that are city owned, identifying opportunities for green space circulation that is safe and provides stormwater remediation. And we've also identified grant funding resources to generate funding pipelines for these 22 projects. This community meeting is the final part of this process. We'll gather information and refine our documentation and provide that back to the city. But our goal of this is to debrief the community on what we have discovered and provide clarity from a very high level master planning framework, which you will see moving forward. So a good question here is, why a green space master plan? And it creates a clear and actionable roadmap, establishing a realistic plan for green space and recreation projects. It builds a long-term decision-making framework that captures current needs and desires from the community and allows us to project down the line what those desires can look like in the future. And it centers around the community's priorities. So using surveys, site observations, and engagement to align the project's community needs while allowing flexibility along the way to adapt those needs as they evolve over time. And Mickey, if there's any commentary that you have during that phase of our process, please feel free to comment.
No, I'm just excited to get, I think you covered that well. Let's get into observations and discovery.
Absolutely.
I'll start off here. The first thing I'd like to say is the city of Pine Lake. Once you pass the subtle, discrete signs that you've entered the city of Pine Lake, you turn into a very impressive forest. And that is one of one of the things that struck me. Now, it's not as evident today, right, in December and January, but when we were there, we literally felt like we were driving through the canopies of many of the trees. And so that was something that really struck us as very unique. The other thing was the topography. Topography, you can work with the topography, whether it's terraces or the topography, and the streets alone create such a dramatic approach to the centralized common space. Now, we're kind of fresh here, right? In Pine Lake. I'll be honest with you, I've never been there, but it was stunning driving through that canopy of trees and then approaching this common centralized public open space. Incredibly unique. And so I know you live there every day, and I know sometimes it's easy to get complacent where we live, and that happens to me where I live. But as fresh observers, I do want to underscore the uniqueness of the city of Pine Lake from an environmental stewardship practice, which is really the foundation of the city, which the mayor has just done an incredible job, along with the citizens, to continue this. That's far ahead of most cities we work with also. So
I concur.
you are ahead of the game and have done some things that are really just remarkable and have not strayed away from that foundation.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give just an overall impression of what my initial observation is and was and will be of the city of Pine Lake. You're very fortunate. It's a very unique community, city, and don't overlook how unique it is because you're there every day. Okay. So with that, Daniel, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, I concur with your commentary that it is we both, Mickey and I, have a foundation in landscape architecture, academic background and experience. And the case studies we study at university, these are the projects we dream of being able to work on. So it's really an honor just to enter this project site and just discover so many unique characteristics that are rooted in art, nature, and a truly inclusive environment. We felt very welcome, and there are all the signs there that this community just is hungry to continue to develop and grow in a very unique way. And a lot of that information also came in through that survey that we alluded to earlier. With 130 participants volunteering crucial insight, we received an understanding because of this significant data set that represented the whole of the community, that the age distribution showed a group of people that have lived life, that have experience, that know what they want, right? They're not newcomers. They know exactly what they want. And so that reassured us that we were going to get some quality information. The participants, for a majority, own their homes. So that sense of ownership is there. 20% have children, which is very crucial for the programming proposals, as well as safety. So now we understand there's a layer of safety and different programming elements that we need to think about moving forward. And residency is crucial as well. Most people here have been here a long time. At least for me, 6 years, that's a very long time. 16 years, I can't even think of that. Like that's a framework that seems like, okay, these are people that know what this community needs, and that the information we're going to get is quality information.
Time out for a second.
Go on ahead.
Daniel had the fortunate experience to travel the entire globe. So, you know, that's why it's also great to have him on this team, is he's experienced so many cultures, and he has literally, I'll point out a country and he's like, yep, I've been there. So to bring him to the table is yet even more of a fresh perspective. Back to you, Daniel.
Thank you, Mickey. So what are participants talking about the most? That's what we all want to know. That's what I was very excited to learn from when we got the answers back from Bernard. Participants want to optimize the existing green space. The spirit of conservation is there, access for all residents, and safety. Participants wanted the green space to actually work with the water. So what does that mean in terms of programming? Rain gardens, stream bank restorations, wetlands and wet meadows, enhanced circulation, safer streets, improved lighting, ADA access throughout. And there was a desire for more. I understand that really well. More trail connections, more pocket parks, dog parks, spaces for our companions to go stretch their legs in a safe environment. I understand that well. And so what do we have today? We have
Daniel, let's
go ahead.
Real quick, just want to back up.
Sorry. Oh,
So
let me back up there.
our process is grounded in really Ian McCard design with nature, and it's a layered process. And so what we do is we develop these base maps, just like he did years ago, but he used trace paper, which I still love to draw on because that's kind of dating me. But we use a layered process, and that's what Daniel is about to sort of go over these different layers that we have observed. Back to you.
Thank you very much. So what do we have today? And a quick note, there seems to be a corruption in this imagery here. These are images on the right-hand side that should show elements that we photographed, but apologies for that. In the presentation we submit, those images will be in full resolution. But what do we have today? So based on our observation, visiting the site on 2 different occasions, we observed civic infrastructure as well as cultural infrastructure in the form of green spaces, parks, and an amazing inventory of park spaces. We had tennis courts, pocket parks, west wetlands, east wetlands, a beach in Atlanta, unheard of. So as well as playgrounds, people playing, there was plenty of program existing. So it was a very impressive thing to document and see. And based on the data, most residents love to walk. I love walking. It's my favorite form of recreation and exercise. There were nature areas, lakes and beaches, and picnic spaces are heavily used. Activities within these spaces, again, walking and jogging, bird watching, that's something we observed firsthand. We observed people dog walking, which is reflected in the community survey. Swimming is an activity that we did not observe firsthand, but we believe you because I would be one of those people jumping in that water, especially on a hot day. And community programmed events, something that we saw firsthand, were just the vast amount of programming for the community, martial arts, all these things that just really enrich your daily life, we saw there. And then layering this in, we needed to understand what the site offered in terms of the actual analyses. And so we were starting, just like Mickey had mentioned, layering soils, topography, and other features that would inform what program could be proposed on these parcels that we've identified in the master plan. Starting with the soils, we have soils and entosoils. Significant or emblematic of the typology of a wetland ecosystem. And we have hydrology, significant hydrology with Snapfinger Creek running through. We have Pine Lake being a central area with different types of water flowing in because of the topography, a significant topography. We just driving into the site, you can literally coast down to the lake. It's a really unique experience, but it does create a unique geological feature with this bowl carved into the landscape, everything oriented towards the lake, which moves your body as well as orients your mind that this is a significant place that the community needs to focus on.
And Daniel, I wanted to point out another observation. The stonework, the retaining walls, that element is consistent throughout the community and is absolutely gorgeous. So
It is.
and these photographs show some of that. And so did one of the prior photographs. But I would continue to build off that historic element. You could make it a more modern interpretation if you'd like, or incorporate art, but do not stray away from that stonework. It is absolutely gorgeous. And if you were to enhance like a gateway sign coming into the city limits, use that stonework. I mean, there's history there, there's stories there. So anyways, just wanted to point out another observation that I think would be very applicable for some design guidelines, park and community guidelines. Back to you.
Absolutely. And moving into the street network, it was interesting because when you look at the city from an aerial perspective, you have this very intentional grid. It's a very intentional grid that can only be broken by significant topography or significant feature like Pine Lake in the center. So the street network consists of two-way streets, but a majority of these two-way streets are intercepted by these one-way east-west northbound streets that informed some proposals later on. And then there's the trail and pedestrian network, the east-west wetlands, the berm, and the other trail networks were a significant amenity that we observed firsthand and will include moving forward in the Greenspace Master Plan. So these are the overlays. And in conjunction with these overlays, as Mickey said earlier on, the city is a city in the trees. We felt that was our first impression. Both of us gasped. This community is covered in trees. And so it was important for us to do an analysis internally using publicly accessible data to analyze how much coverage was in Pine Lake. And it's significantly more than the national average. National average is 26. And based on our analyses, there was over 75% coverage, which is critical. It's critical for cooling, water filtration, sustaining wildlife, sustaining our lives. So you have a beautiful amenity there in plain sight that is branding in and of itself, right? So we take these layers, we're layering the community input, we're layering these maps, we're layering our observations, and we understand that we need to strengthen the ecology here. We need to improve stormwater. We need to expand access. We need to create safer ways to get to these green spaces. And we need to do that crucially through community-driven engagement. And that's something that I feel like is just organically already happening here. You can see it everywhere in the detail, but it's this green space master plan collects all of our combined energy into one effort. And that is what we're going to propose moving forward with the green space master plan. Nikki, any commentary there? If not, I'll move forward.
No, move
Yes, sir.
on, Daniel. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So with the green space master plan, we're taking our prior illustration, but we're overlaying the parcels that are city-owned parcels. There's one parcel in particular that may be a promised parcel that will be given away to the city, and that is identified in white, which is different from the ones in green. And we took those 22 parcels and through observation, provided recommendations as well as a cost estimate range depending on the intervention, right? If this intervention is intensive, that price will go up. If it's not, we could be benches, some shrubs, something light, that price will go down. And so those are things that we can determine amongst the community. So we've divided it into the northern region, which consists of Pine Lake, as well as that northern sloping grid. And this consists of a lot of wetlands. There's a lot of water here, and water is a crucial and vital part of determining what we can and cannot do. So, for instance, in the survey, we heard people clamoring for a dog park. This would not be the best place for a programming like a dog park because the proximity to water, the ordinances just won't allow for that due to the contamination or leaching into the water. So those constraints inform what programming can happen here. But things that can happen here are stream buffer enhancements, erosion control projects, riparian edges, and stitching together what's already happening here and enhancing. So when the community says we want to enhance what's here already, this is the perfect place to do that. That could look like enhanced trail networks, lighting, more trees. I know there's a lot of trees already, but let's get that to 80%. That's a beautiful goal. And then we can look to the south. And here, there's almost a central park energy here. There's a lot of publicly owned land space here, and connecting that through green interventions is ideal up here. And where a dog park can happen here, I believe lot 22, for example, would be a perfect location to provide that dog park. It's far away enough from the water and from residents, and there's ample enough land to include that. But then we look at, for example, lot 12, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, would be McCarthy Park.
McAllister.
McAllister Park, thank you very much.
That one's Fleeman, I believe, y'all.
Fleeman?
McAllister is the one near the lake.
Okay, we'll correct that. I'm sorry for that. But those are locations where we can propose programming for amphitheaters, where people can collect and share their art, and through different type of events and festivals. These are places where people can come and do actual events and separate from the lake, but still heavily programmed and significant intervention can occur here.
Yeah, it's almost like on the south you have the highland parks or the upland parks,
Exactly.
and then you have the lowland parks or the lowland green space, or
Very
you
different
know, we could
typologies,
call it Frederick Law Olmsted, the Emerald Necklace, you know, but nonetheless, you really have two very different experiences. The lowlands and the Highland Park area. Back to you, Martin.
Going forward, we can also explore a public access amenity ordinance. And I know that's weird language, but it essentially means for anything we propose, for instance, along, excuse me, as I slide to the next, along Rockbridge Road, where there's commercial as well as residential multifamily opportunities. We work with developers so that we can provide public access amenities, publicly accessible amenities within that development. And what does that mean? Well, for instance, this project that I worked on in Orlando, we worked with a developer to provide a dog park, which is number one here, along this publicly accessible trail that the developer also built. We have a public playground that is fenced off from the community, so the community can come in and out with their key card, but the public can also access it as a public amenity. So everyone within the city of Pine Lake, although there's this kind of distinct multifamily development, could also benefit from that and bring that community together. So the people within this new development will just be integrated in and basically offering this gesture
Yeah,
to the rest of the neighborhood.
and building off of that, Daniel, that's also another way to attract funding to the
Absolutely.
city is and there are certain cities within the Atlanta metro area that leverage it to the max, but they make it a requirement as part of their permit. And the one thing I would like to commend the city on is your open space ordinance. Not every city has one of those. But I think a nice companion exhibit to that would be some design guidelines that set a standard, not only for now, but for future generations to come. But I really think leveraging the public-private partnership is a key tool to raising funds, and it's just a matter of time before people start, wanting to develop all around your very nice, quaint city.
Mhm. And then moving back to the conversation of trail networks, there are opportunities internally to build trails within Pine Lake. However, there's a crucial opportunity that perhaps the city can explore of kind of breaking out of the western wetlands and connecting the city of Pine Lake to the broader trail network of the Stone Mountain Trail and other trail networks that can connect you to ample park and trails and park spaces throughout the city of Atlanta, DeKalb County. And here we have identified what that stitch would look like if we were able to make that connection. And then we have more detailed park interventions. So here we have the park referenced earlier, the parcel 12, and that space lends itself to being utilized for community oriented programming. Mickey, I know you've had some really good ideas for this space. If you want to come in and provide some insight.
Well, I mean, this is, you've got the beautiful city hall, the stonework there. Again, the stone, right?
Mhm.
You've got I believe portions of a granite curb here. So you've got some historic elements that I really like. This tract of land has kind of a bowl shape to it here, and we understand there's been some erosion going on in this general area, and Bernard's done a great job mitigating this, and really also by just showing us around the city during our two site visits. But he pointed this out as an ongoing issue, and so we thought about, well, let's see how we could transition this into a park that really maybe was an extension of the city hall. You could maybe have a grand staircase, but still keeping it very minimal. I know that the mayor is very keen on permaculture and using what's there. And really, if you look around your city, you've got a lot of materials that you could use and reuse and build some of this. But what we were thinking here is having like a grand staircase, could be even grander than that, with a nice connection into this is just a concept of a pocket park, right? But this is one that is fairly special, and this is one of many ideas. It was just a sketch of creating a dry creek bed utilizing green infrastructure, having a small bridge, using maybe slate, and using like a polymeric application that locks that slate in so it's not loose. And then a little stage nestled back into the corner there for some informal performances, as well as an area for vendors. I can only imagine the amount of talented artists that live in the city of Pine Lake. That is really, I think, the essence of how you continue to strengthen your city's identity is leveraging that art and continuing to be stewards of the natural environment. You know, I just commend you for it. You have these foundations in place, and we've identified them based on your hard work, and let's continue to celebrate them. So I think that's really all I need to say. And then incorporating some arts, you know, that's a little more modern there, but hey, you build whatever you want up there. Okay, onward, Daniel, back to you.
Okay. And let's talk a little bit about stream bank restoration, and what that could look like, right? So recommended treatment for that would be a maximum slope along stream banks of 3.1 per 3 to 1. Regraded slopes, erosion interventions, native riparian shrub planting, living shoreline stabilization. So wherever within our green spaces we identify this type of erosion, making sure we're intervening in a way that really enhances the environment, invites wildlife in to thrive, and we can live in a symbiotic way, providing for them, and then they provide for us, as well as educational opportunities. You know, there's never a day that goes by where I do not go outside and learn something new by observing nature. And by providing that infrastructure within the city, you're providing opportunities for people to learn, to empathize, to grow personally, professionally, and to stitch opportunities for the community to get to come together and learn together. So wherever that may happen, these type of boardwalks and observational decks, enhancing the landscape through wet meadows and wetland enhancement, those opportunities should never be overlooked. And we've identified areas for that to occur. And then building upon all of this, we need to figure out ways to connect people to these green spaces. And in the survey, we posed this idea, you know, streets as green space. There's this concept in the Netherlands. The Dutch came up with it, called the Woonerf, and it literally translates to a living street. And a living street is a street within that right of way, you're bringing green space in. You're and you're accomplishing certain goals, improving safety, better connectivity, community. It's community oriented. It calms the traffic. People that come in who don't normally navigate the streets of Pine Lake will be compelled to behave through design. It'll have multiple uses. So these streets can be shut down to traffic and be allow the community in to celebrate, to have festivals and trade and sell and just celebrate the community. And it's a resident first mentality. By having these living streets, you're giving people more space, and it's quite intuitive. And it's probably the only space in the country where this could happen in Pine Lake, because it's already kind of organically happening. And to do this, there are two methods. We can do it tactically, or we can go all out and build this entirely. And that will inform us of the cost, right? Tactical would be paint, planters, bollards, temporary interventions. Full build outs include moving curbs, adding permeable paving, stormwater planters, and continuous green buffers that will protect pedestrians as they navigate these streets. There are examples of those occurring here in Decatur that we've worked on, that Mickey can speak to a little bit here in detail. Mickey, if you don't mind
Yeah, so
instructing us a little bit on this.
I've designed and implemented many of these, I call them water quality basins. There's a number of names for them, but within the urban environment, I have designed and overseen the construction of many of these. Within residential areas, they serve as a nice traffic calming. Just down from here, which is nice, is a large culvert. This is on Hilldale Road. And so this water drains into this. It infiltrates through engineered soil. During heavy rains that exceed what our water quality basin had been designed for, comes out the top and straight into the culvert, which leads right into Shoal Creek. So Shoal Creek is an impaired stream, like many streams within the city, well, within the Atlanta metro area. And this is one way to start trying to clean our water, utilizing the right plants, the right cross section, and sizing your basins appropriately. This is also a way to save on acquiring right of way. So there's many benefits of it. Another project, but it does have to be maintained, and we provide a maintenance program. Every 5 to 8 years, you really want to get the sediments out, that kind of thing. But you can see in this case, this neighbor, he takes care of this, and he loves it. So getting community buy-in on these is very important. Also, North McDonough, which runs down or really towards Agnes Scott, that was one of the first in Atlanta, and I was fortunate to have been the lead designer on that. And at the time, that was the longest urban green infrastructure project in the country. But it's done a great job, but it's time to do some maintenance on it. So back to you, Daniel. We have many other projects through that area as well. Back to you, Daniel.
Absolutely. And so I'm going to be honest and forthfront. I'm a biased person in this. I design from the perspective of the pedestrian. So when we talk about a living street, we're not talking about designing for a car. We're designing for people who live here who just so happen to need to let cars through. And so that's the language I'm going to adopt and try to convince people that this is the correct intervention, but it might not be. And I don't want to be prescriptive. I want to allow the community to voice their opinion and allow this to develop organically, right? That's what a living street is. And we've identified 6 different opportunities, and these are mainly along the one-way roads. So we're not going to be bottlenecking too much to allow for two-way traffic not to happen here. If it's a one-way road, it'll allow for this type of chicaning where the road can weave in and out with these green interventions, but throughout the pedestrian will be allowed to flow through freely, unencumbered by any vehicle that comes in at any time. It's important for our children, our residents to feel safe, and that's what a living street at the end of the day will accomplish. Do you feel safe? Cars there or not? And so here we have that tactical retrofit along with pricing along these streets, as well as the full living street build out. And those can occur kind of like piecemeal. So one street might be tactical, one street might be full build. Just depends on where the energy is, what the community decides on, and what interventions we're proposing. And moving ahead, Mickey, if you don't mind, just informing us more about the stewardship and these opportunities.
So, well, Bernard informed us of a couple of volunteer organizations the city of Pine Lake have. Unfortunately, we have not had the time to sit down with Seed or Plain. But that goes to show yet again, you're thinking ahead, you're ahead of the game. But keeping that momentum going and funding has got to be a challenge, right? And finding the resources to do the things you want to do, that's always a challenge in every city I've worked in. But we do want to recognize Seed and Plain here and just recognize the good work and the mission that you've embraced. So, and we just encourage more and more of that. So I'll talk a little bit about the funding strategy. So, working on both sides of the table, I've had the opportunity to be a consultant, and I've had the opportunity to evaluate consultants. And so that's given me a lot of insight on fundraising. And one point I want to mention that establishing one tool that's been very successful within the country, I would say, overall, has been the establishment of conservancies. These are nonprofit groups like Seed and Plain in many instances. But
Yes.
and like yourself, they're very passionate about their mission. And so cities, and how did these get started? Okay, I'll tell you. Central Park, the Central Park Conservancy started in the 1970s because the city could not afford to maintain the parks to the citizens' abilities. And then in the 80s, Piedmont Park Conservancy started up in the same fashion. The city could not afford to keep the grass mowed or the trash picked up, and then the parks really went into disrepair. And then that's when a conservancy was formed, who I was very familiar with, Piedmont Park Conservancy. And what they do is they develop funding strategies. They coordinate, and there's many firms here locally. The one that I know of is Cox Curry. They will help you develop a funding strategy, and they have connections to a lot of these potential donors. And they also, like at Piedmont Park, started out with one or two people, right? Now there's probably 15 to 20 that work there, but they do 98% of the maintenance. They follow all city ordinances and policies. They are under the city for sure. The city makes the last call, but they do take on a lot of responsibilities in terms of maintenance, issuing RFPs, selecting consultants, managing projects. It just depends on how well they've been established, but you have to start somewhere. And so I've worked with many conservancies and seen a lot of success come from them. Additionally, the Chattahoochee Nature Center, I'm sure you've all been to, and the Dunwoody Nature Center, I'm sure you've all been to. They're doing a lot of the same things you're doing. It's just you're doing it as a community or as a city. These are places that you go to, smaller places, and so I just think the opportunities just just, remarkable for the city of Pine Lake to continue to take that baton and be a leader and developing, using this plan, building off of this plan, and coming up with these fundraising strategies because, frankly, you don't have the staff to maintain all of this, and nor does any city. They have to have a public-private partnership. So I just wanted to introduce the idea of a conservancy and talk about my experience with it. And we can discuss that in more detail if and as you like. Other funding opportunities, DeKalb County has a SPLOS, I think. I'm not sure when it ends. The Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program, they have a lot of grants that are actually tied to lakes and water bodies. And then the Federal Land and Water Conservation Fund or Recreation Trails Program. You really, and that's also what the Conservancy will do, is they will write grant applications, So it's an extension really of the city. So, all right, Daniel, moving on.
Yep. Well, a part of our research, especially after getting the survey questions back, is the community is very adamant about that public-private partnership as well as grant resources. So we tapped into people we've worked with in real life on projects and other resources that the community can tap into. And I want to give a quick example of what that looks like firsthand. So one of these grant resources, for instance, is Nature Sacred, for grants and partnerships. Nature Sacred is a community based out of Washington, D.C., and they worked in cities all across the country. And the closest ones to us are in Birmingham, Alabama. There are over 18 of these projects that they've built with the community. And it's important that it's with the community because this organization needs someone called a fire soul, somebody who can advocate for and get this project built alongside a landscape architect. And it's completely funded by this organization. Examples of what that looks like and how it works is you identify a public parcel that's publicly owned, and they will come in, do an analysis, and they have essentially a kit of parts. And that kit of parts includes things like a bench, a trail, a walking path, a maze, a labyrinth, and depends on what the community decides on. And they'll prospect it, prepare it, plot, produce, and present the work and build it. So moving on from there, and Mickey, if there are any comments before we go on to the summary?
No, sir.
No,
Nope.
sir. Okay. And to summarize the presentation, we've identified 22 parcels for Greenspace programming. And within those parcels, we provided some recommendations as well as pricing for that based on today's current market. We've identified 6 living streets to connect you to these green spaces safely. And we've provided a funding strategy through grants, volunteers, a conservancy to make sure that the community is not coming out of the community's pocket, but that there are these partnerships that can build sustainably these park projects and fund them and maintain them through community efforts.
Yeah. One thing I would like to add to that is consider establishing some design guidelines based on what you like, what you think is important for your community that you want to last for generations to come. And develop some design guidelines that for your parks and your open space that is a companion exhibit to your open space ordinance, which is again very impressive. You've got it broken out in public and private. I think that's fantastic. But some design guidelines would be great, and those obviously. It could be a coordinated effort between landscape architects and the communities, and you have a preference surveys and things of that nature, but do consider that as well. And the last thing I want to say is Daniel, thank you for the great presentation and the great work. It's been a real honor to visit your city and the potential there. Do not underestimate the potential you have to make it a national example for others to follow. You are already on the right track and doing all the right things that are underlined with the exact principles we need for not only now but for generations to come. It's never been as important as it is at this moment to get our children and ourselves out into the natural environment and learn. It's being lost, and it's our job because we're older generations to make sure we provide those opportunities for all, but especially for our youth. And thank you for the opportunity to allow us to work with you all on this. We sincerely appreciate it, and it's been an honor. So with that, let's see, Ned, I'd like to get some of your thoughts here in terms of how we want to manage the questions. I have them in the chat. I could read through these. Would that be fine?
Sure.
Okay.
Is that Mayor Hall?
Okay.
Yeah,
right,
I think there's some that we can read through, and then there were a couple that came in that are not specific to this
project.
project, and I can
Yes.
address those at the end.
Oh, okay. So I'll
Specifically
just.
around the riprap.
Okay, yeah, that's about where I was going to start, Mayor Hall. Let's see. Okay, let's see. All right, here we go. Will AECom provide a master plan for the wetlands and lake later on? I'll turn that over, Mayor Hall, to you and Shahid, maybe.
Yeah, so I would actually defer to Mr. Kendrick, but there's currently a scope of work that the city has engaged AECom on, which is it's not a master plan, it's an engineering solution to the wetlands in the lake. So that is underway, and that's outside of the scope of this specific master plan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to get those nuts and bolts in place for the lake.
Let me also add, Mayor Hall, that the where we are currently with task order 1, if you recall, we're completing a survey that is requirement for the permitting or the hydrologic and hydraulic effort that the Corps and the EPD will require for us to move forward with one of the 3 options that were presented to the mayor and council a couple of months ago. So we're close to wrapping up the field work on that survey, and probably anticipate January, early February meeting of coming back with those options to move forward for the completion of that task order.
Great.
Yep. Okay. Moving on. This Mayor Hall, this one's please explain the residents why and where riprap is being laid. Thank you.
Yeah, we can I can go ahead and do that.
I can take it.
Yeah, please
Okay,
do.
Bernard, you got that one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
A couple months ago, as recall, we had a dam inspection for the lake is impounded by a dam that is above Snapfinger Creek. Some of the recommendations or the inspections recommended the removal of those alders that were on the upstream side because of the potential that they could penetrate the dam. It is a structure, so those alders with the roots could penetrate the dam and cause some libelous conditions that the city would be responsible for. So the recommendation by the engineer was to remove those alders and to stabilize the bank with riprap, and also as a part of that project, the upper edge next to the path would be planted with some type of shallow rooted type of plants that either the mayor or some of the other, I think we're looking at once again seed helping us out with that, and selection of those types of plants, and also doing the installation of those. But that is the reason why the riprap is on the shores of the lake, is for stabilization so that the lake, the dam won't fail and cause us some uh, problems down the line or downstream.
Mhm.
Okay.
Great, thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Bernard. Next questions. All right. Let's see. This meeting video should be edited and used to entice businesses. I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, seriously, third party vendors or something to don't discount. Don't discount anything right out of the gate unless it's against your environmental stewardship. But third party vendors are something to consider as well. Let's see here. We got misspelled Forest Road. Thank you, Calvin. We'll get that addressed.
I
Nothing
noticed
says,
it was
well,
correct on the maps. It was just the tax parcel
okay,
info.
yeah,
So the county probably hasn't updated it.
yeah, we'll get it right. Nothing says, well, I like clearing half of the vat with duck and turtle hunt. Greg wrote that, yeah. Yeah, so so there says nothing says wildlife like ripping out the vegetation with duck, turtle hiding spots and the gray riprap and accessible slopes. You know that dams are necessary in Georgia. Okay, there are no natural lakes. I don't know if you know that or not in the state of Georgia other than the Okefenokee Swamp, which I was a tour guide in high school, I'm proud to say. But there are no natural lakes in Georgia. So dams and the structural integrity of dams and lakes is absolutely essential, or you will get loss of life downstream. And so the riprap is a necessary, but there is also a benefit of riprap as it goes into the water. It provides shallower spaces where small aquatic fish can be born and can grow and can evolve into larger fish. For example, when you put a hard barrier wall around a lake, the Corps of Engineers does not like that, and it's very unlikely they're going to permit it, and it's because of the damage you're doing to the aquatic wildlife in the water. They're not able to reproduce. And so that lake edge, it's very important that you have shallow to deep to deep to deeper. And the riprap does provide that opportunity. But you have to it's in the elected officials and the consultants' best interests to put safety at the top of the chart, and that means we got to get the dam structurally sound. So all right, moving on here. Other long comment, learned that keeping plantings around the shores keeps the geese down. Cannot see a predator through that. Kind of. Okay, it sounds like it's getting better. Let's see. After allowing growth, the average count has dropped. What do we need and how is it going to be replaced? I don't, our project didn't really answer that. That's a more specific question. We'd be more than happy to talk with you about it. But our project didn't really address that. Differing how all these ideas will cost resources. Absolutely. And really it's the passion, it's identifying champions within your community. And you've already done that, I think. You've got an opportunity here to re-engage with your community. And I think since COVID, we lost a lot of that. All right, so moving on here. The space next to the PD is an excellent spot for a small amphitheater stage and a small park, but is well situated to draw visitors from a redeveloped Rock Bridge Road. I think I missed one here about different. Okay, I think there was one about the amphitheater not being, that's just a concept. You could leave that space open. I would suggest some type of cover in case of inclement weather. But, that was just to hopefully inspire you all. We would be more than happy to work with you in a more detailed fashion to make it a reality. But that's hopefully just to give you an idea of what it could be. The connection to the city hall, I think, could be emphasized a little more. Let's
Let
see.
me say this, Mickey, about that park. We recognize that we have issues over there that's related to the failing storm drain that goes through there. So what we put forward with this rendering was just
Hmm.
a concept of what could be done if we brought back a proposal to remove the storm drain and do some type of open channel type of work and,
Hmm.
to do some kind of amenity there. So it's basically conceptual from that standpoint, but it's trying
Hmm.
to show that we do understand what is the root cause of the problems in that area. But, we've got to just focus on a more engineered solution in order to accomplish that, but kind of also wrap something in with a proposed amenity for that area.
That's right. Yeah, you could design that with a community committee who is all interested, with someone who can draw and sketch and come up with a quick price and see what materials you have right there in your community and build it with. Um, yeah. Rely on federal funding. Some do, some don't. The most successful ones are the Arthur Blank foundations. That's neither federal or state, but you need a connection with them. And that's where someone like Cox Curry, and there's a whole list of, probably 10 firms here locally that do these funding strategies, and work with a lot of parks. Um, yeah, but it could involve federal funding. Once that comes back around for parks. Great question though, Calvin. Maybe seed could become the conservancy. That you got to start with the seed to plant a tree, right? I mean, I could see that. Yeah. If you would, if someone from Seed or Plain or someone else would like for me to set up an appointment with the Chastain Park Conservancy, who I know the executive director, please let me know. I'll volunteer my time to do that. And you can get her perspective on it. She's been, I think, the executive director for maybe going on 10 years now. Yeah, I can't, Jeff, I can't reemphasize this more. You have Public Works, they're doing the nitty gritty, they're doing the nuts and bolts. They're maintaining making sure your utilities are coming to your house. It is a lot to ask for any city's public works department to also maintain the parks. And that's why we're talking about these other options in terms of funding these projects and maintaining them. And a conservancy is exactly who would do that. It's just a bit more formalized. Focus field for conservancy as well as focus work. Well, we have, oh, you have 3 full-time jobs. Wow. Is it Keith? Yeah, Keith.
Mickey, can you read the questions?
Yeah, seat is comprised of 4 members. 3 have full-time jobs. Oh, 3 have full-time jobs. Yes, so that's another good reason to speak with someone who's been involved with the Conservancy from the inception. Um,
Let me also say, Mickey, you know, the idea here with Plain and Seed is to involve them because there's a spirit of volunteerism in the city of Pine Lake, and I've had several meetings with both, members of Plain, members of Seed. Just today, we had a member of Seed, Councilmember Goldberg, and I met with the Georgia Forestry Association. So we recognize that there's only 4 members. We do know that they have a lot of people, more people volunteer. We're looking forward to, involving them more in some of the activities that they want to do that the city would sanction to be able to, have more of that, capture more of that spirit of volunteerism. So we do not recognize the limits on their time and and resources and the ability to do things. So we're trying to help them ramp up the things that they can be a part of and make it a cooperative type of endeavor.
Thank you, Bernard. All right, what is the proposed time frame and how will the features be prioritized? The proposed time frame for our scope of services is
Let me
coming.
jump in again on Mickey.
Okay, Bernard.
What we anticipate here is gathering all the feedback from this presentation. We have some comments that came in prior to the meeting. I know some of the council members might have comments. If we don't get to everything tonight, we're going to compile all the questions, make sure we answer them, get them back, wrap them into a final report, and hopefully maybe January, if we get everything together, represent this as a package back to the council for implementation. And as the mayor said previously, this is a planning document, and hopefully, once the recommendation from staff is going to be everything that we can do to fund this through outside sources, that we look to that first and foremost. There's some other projects that become a priority that the citizens want to see move forward, then we'll work to get those done. But for right now, the time frame is, to wrap up the presentation here today, compile all the data, comments that were submitted, and bring it back before the mayor and council for final adoption and then implementation.
Thank you, Bernard.
Yes, thank you,
Um,
Mr.
yeah.
Kendrick. Oh, I was just gonna say, Mickey, I
Mhm.
just reviewed the rest of the questions here.
Yes.
As Bernard was saying, we can answer some of those via email. There are a lot in this that are still talking
Okay.
about specifics of the riprap, but I wanted to call out 2 that were not about
Okay.
that.
Yes.
One was from incoming council person Jane Lowers. Exactly how much traffic do we think we're going to have that it needs to be calmed, specifically to the traffic calming measures on Ridge, which gets roughly 1 car every 15 minutes. And I was looking at that. It looks like in the Greenspace master plan, it, one of the directives of the concept is making more connectivity and walkable, just like
Mhm,
more walkable trails. So
mhm.
is Ridge specifically about traffic calming, or is it about creating the connectivity in that loop that it kind of outlines?
Yeah, great question. Daniel, I'll let you address that question as you're
Um,
much
I,
more familiar.
I would veer away from attaching to any one prescriptive definition of a living street. Traffic calming is a consequence of a living street. It's
Mm,
not a living street. So what are we proposing? Green space connectivity. What does it accomplish? Safety, traffic calming. It influences people's behavior, if they're visitors, if they're residents. And then if we take it a step further, it absorbs water, cleans water. So there are so many applications, and attaching just one function, um, I think it's too reductive of a approach. We need to be holistic, comprehensive, and all of these things are accomplished with a living street, not just traffic calming.
great. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Daniel.
And just to, oh,
Yeah,
go ahead,
Brandy
Hendrik.
or Mayor Hall. Yeah.
No, I
You.
want to say echo this about the traffic calming. The chief is on here too. She's had several over the years comments and recommendations about speed bumps and speed tables and those things throughout the city. And in her experience, she continually is not recommending those, and I kind of concur with that. So anytime the narrowing of streets, as Daniel said, kind of intentionally focuses the driver and makes them, slow down. So I think that's a nice, these, living street concept is a good way to, slow traffic, be more intentional in how we do things as we manage our traffic uh, without having those intrusive speed bumps and those types of things that normally, like as the chief say, don't function well, and they could become like a risk for the city with people you know claiming that there's been damage done to their cars because of speed bumps.
Great. Thank you. Um, one other kind of one last question
Sure.
here uh, is, are the ideas presented in the proposal an all or nothing, or are they various ideas to implement? If they're separate ideas, how do we decide on which ones to implement and when? I think that's a really great question, and just a reminder that this is a very high level vision of what is possible as we're starting to understand our capital projects that we want to invest in as a city. And like you've said many times during this presentation, this is what you could do with this potential space. This is our recommendation of
Yes.
how you might use this based on the hydrology and the soils, what you might not do with this. But then each one of those recommendations would need further community input and design. But do you want to speak to that a little bit more, just in terms of the process?
Yeah. This was, as you mentioned, Mayor Hall, this was our first pass at initial observations, identifying what is unique that sets the city of Pine Lake apart from any city I've been to. And then making recommendations based on available land. Some of these recommendations that we have in there are just initial thoughts. We didn't go through each parcel and do a detailed design and or program, but the size of your tracts of land are going to be more suited for probably passive use, I would say, rather than active use recreational facilities. But in terms of ranking, it would be great if the citizens did a internal ranking, of which parcel would they like to see. first developed. Again, we're a conduit. We bring our experience and we bring our knowledge through our years of working on similar projects. But at the end of the day, we're a conduit for you and your ideas. We try and bring consensus, but at the end of the day, this is your city, your master plan. And I see the whole city of Pine Lake as an open space master plan, if you really want to know the truth. It has the potential to be one, and it is one. It just needs to be formalized. But the ranking is a great question, Mayor Hall. I think that would be a community-led effort with our support, but at a later stage. All right. Any other questions you have, Mayor Hall?
I
Uh,
do not. Mr. Kendrick, do you have any final words of wisdom here?
Yeah. Now, let me address that one comment from Ms. Denabrica. The north side of the or the downstream side of the dam, we are actively planning because that was another recommendation that came out of the dam inspection. The reason why we're holding off on that now is because there's limited access to the north side of the creek to get to do the work that needs to be done in there. So we're, in the stages of evaluating how we're going to accomplish that. We do know what the eventual remedy would be for that, to remove that shoaling that's adjacent to the creek and at the toe of the downstream face of the dam. But like I said, we're kind of limited in access points to be able to get equipment there. And then, we're going to have to monitor because we'd have to be doing the work in the creek, not on the dam, that it's going to become a little tricky and a little specialized to be able to do that. But hopefully in the next 30 days or so, we'll have some type of game plan of how we can address that. And then with a cost estimate that we can bring back to the council for their consideration.
Great. Thank you. And then the last question, and then we'll end, was from Suraj Dozenbach. If this master plan is just a proposal, I think I'll put this one to you, Mr. Kendrick, about, you've spoken to the process a few times, you were just speaking to it, but just to reiterate, if this master plan is just a proposal, then does it mean other proposals are still possible? If so, how are those ideas going to be raised for prioritization and planning for implementation? So is there a method for citizens to submit feedback after this presentation, other than the questions that have already been included? And then how will we choose those projects and move forward?
I think, Mayor, I think the easiest way to do that is that I'll get with the city clerk tomorrow, and what we'll talk about is opening the portal back up for people who either didn't get a chance to participate in the presentation or who are on here to have more detailed questions or follow-up questions, that they can submit another question, and we'll leave that the portal open, for a couple of days or a time to be determined, and advertise it in the news blast, and then take those and and get those all together, and I'll get with the team at AECOM and also some staff and council members, and figure out how we're going to address those, and like I said, wrap this up into the final presentation to the council. Make sure everybody has a fair chance for input. Every every question or comment should be addressed, so that everybody has an opportunity once again to be heard on this important document.
Right. Thank you. Thank you to AECom, Mickey and Daniel specifically for your presentation. That was really insightful. And thank you to everyone who showed up this evening to engage and ask questions. The presentation has been recorded, and City Clerk Degenhardt is going to post that on YouTube, and we will circulate the link through our channels. So keep an eye out for that, and also the to open up the survey again. So thank you all so much for spending your Wednesday evening with us, and thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Happy holidays,
holidays.
everyone. Thank you for participating. And yes, be safe and enjoy your holidays. And we will be in touch.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Happy
everybody.
holidays.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.